Sunny V2 made a video about the Chris from Mr. Beast coming out situation. He says it's going to be a nightmare for Mr. Beast, which I don't know how it's going exactly. It's going to be like a terrible for Mr. Beast's brand. I don't think just being associated with a trans person can absolutely like cause the downfall of your entire brand when you're someone like Mr. Beast. But I'm intrigued. I'll watch the video. I'll see why he thinks that. Let's watch.
Chris Tyson. The Chris Tyson situation could become a complete disaster for Mr. Beast's brand. However, it may also provide some unique benefits. So let's begin by going over the drama before explaining exactly how this will impact the Mr. Beast channel. In mid-2022, fans began to notice that Chris Tyson was changing. In the early days, he represented the quintessential southern gun and truck loving dude, yet beginning
Now it's me. I love trucks. I love shotguns.
In March 2022, Chris began to display increasingly feminine traits, making tweets such as "I finally got my nails done at a nail tech." Additionally, Chris would highlight that his facial appearance had changed significantly since the start of the pandemic.
Look, this isn't a comment on becoming trans. It's just he did glow down. I mean, that is a glow down. Come on.
Which accompanied another post reading, "Okay, so in 4 different customs, I had to prove I was myself because I, quote, look nothing like my passport pic, so much that I'm considering updating my passport. Do you see any resemblance?" Prompting replies such as, "You went from man to boy." Chris responded by stating, "Nah, to be honest, I just really started taking my mental health seriously and eating better." Yet his Twitter photos kept insinuating that Chris was becoming more feminine, with this same kind of look showing up in his Mr. Beast appearances. For example, on the 6th of January 2023, Beast Reacts uploaded a video titled "I strapped a GoPro to a fish," in which Chris dressed in a way that prompted comments such as, "Chris has been adopting more and more traits that remind me of my grandmother." Okay, so some people just gonna ignore Chris's nails? Chris had to have lost a bet. The look is getting wild. The response to the video then prompted countless viral TikToks, such as this one with 700,000 likes, stating, "How did Chris go from this to this?" While others even made the claim that Carl had turned him gay. Now, this was pretty ridiculous, as Carl isn't
I just want to say, like, I don't believe in the Carl effect. I don't think it's Carl that, turned Chris this way. I think it's the societal pressure of being such a well-known influencer. It's hard, constantly having that intake of so many videos, so many opinions. There is a pressure to be a part of the LGBT community. I mean, it's just facts, If you feel down mentally, then you will be told, like, well, maybe you're gay, maybe you're trans, maybe that's why you're feeling this way. And I have no doubt that's probably what happened here. It's also, it's hard not to go down that pipeline. There's many different pipelines. There's the Andrew Tate alt-right pipeline, and then there's the ultra-liberal, become trans, have pink hair, that pipeline. Me personally, I don't want to go down either pipeline, but it seems like Chris went down the ladder, so...
even that feminine, and Chris had come out as bisexual years before he and Carl had even met. The true catalyst for Chris Tyson's feminization instead seemed to have come from his marriage. In January 2022, Chris would post a photo with his wife to his Instagram, yet after this, the family photo stopped altogether. Fans also noticed that he'd removed his wedding ring, with the ring's absence correlating perfectly with the very first post in which he'd painted his nails. Chris confirmed the split in a post from March 2023 reading, "For a little over a year now, me and Katie have been separated," with this also confirming that Chris's transformation began as soon as his marriage came to an end. Chris went from lighting campfires and raising a family with his beautiful wife to now trying to be a wife with his man buns and long nails. As the criticism continued to pile, Chris announced that he'd be taking a break from social media. And while there was a possibility that Chris would make efforts to return to his former self, he'd rather do the opposite and double down on his feminine image image, showing up to the Kids' Choice Awards looking like this, before making the announcement that he'd been doing HRT for approximately 2 months, which according to a quick Google search is the medical process for changing genders. Chris would expand on this by stating, "Informed consent HRT saved my and many others' lives. The hurdles GNC people have to jump through to get life-saving gender-affirming healthcare in a first world country is wild to me. Just let people make informed decisions about their own bodies," which received a positive response from both Carl and Mr. Beast, who wrote, "Got you, I did one more heart than Carl because I'm a better friend." While his co-workers expressed positivity, others weren't so welcoming. There goes a father figure the kid won't ever be able to look up to. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Weak man times. Chris responded to this comment by stating, "This is just more dog whistling that somehow trans and GNC folks aren't safe around kids. Tucker begs for me to come back when I leave for like 2 days to film. He is so loved and happy. Kids aren't born with hate, it's taught by people like you, and my child will only know love. I know I'm going to be a great parent, and so is every other person who puts the love of their child before everything. I made this decision because I wanted to show up as my best and happiest self for him. In a way, this was for Tucker." Chris's response received some positivity such as, "I'm convinced you're an amazing father. Tucker is lucky to have you and also lucky to have all of those who surround and support you in his life, as well as I adore that, I'm glad you made that decision. It's so much easier to be a parental figure when you're not struggling with dysphoria, yet he'd also receive an equal amount of backlash. You ripped apart your family and took a father figure away from your son."
That's probably the main critique here is your son needs a father figure, you know? There's direct correlation between declining mental health and the increased likelihood that your child will have mental health problems or turn out like you if they don't have a father figure in the home. Or a masculine figure in the home, I suppose. I think that's the critique everyone's trying to say in these tweets, probably.
Just so you could paint your nails and act zesty. Pathetic. He will get torn apart at school, won't want to have friends around his house. A life full of difference and being alone. Must have missed the point in that tweet. How's this for him when you're depriving him of a father figure? Although Chris wasn't altered by these comments, as he'd once again reiterate his certainty in a new post reading, "It's never too late to start being yourself," which received praise from Mr. Beast as well as Nolan and Carl. However, these comments also added extra fuel to the fire. In a few years, look back at this thread and remember they were never your friends. Only yes men cowards. Hope you come out of this safe. Mr. Beast responded to this with a simple opinion irrelevant ratio, to which the original commenter would state, "I have 30 followers, so go ahead and ratio me. I'll still rest easy knowing that I'm not a coward who idly sits by watching my friend ruin his own life." In some ways, it was nice to see the boys standing up for Chris on Twitter. However, the situation has already begun to change the dynamic with
me personally, if I had a friend, if he's my boy, like, I'm gonna like ride for my boy, and try to defend him from internet hate. I think that is the right thing for his friends to do. Maybe if the conversation arises as to like, what do you think I should do? Like, should I continue with HRT or maybe they can give an opinion, whatever you think is best. But they're not just gonna dog on their friend. Like, what do you expect? What do you expect them to do? Like, do you expect them to just trash on Chris? Publicly? Why would they do that?
Within the videos. For example, in a recent livestream titled Opening 1,000 Mystery Art Boxes, Chris would once again dress in quite a feminine way, and while everybody participated as usual,
Mr. Beast looked so, like, awkward and uncomfortable in the stream. That's probably what spurred all of this.
The energy and vibe didn't feel nearly as smooth as it normally does. It felt as though there was an unaddressed elephant in the room, and therefore everybody was in their head, as opposed to being in the present moment enjoying each other's company. Maybe everybody was simply too busy opening packs.
Woo! Friggin' Chris, that crop top is not doing you any favors, brother.
Packages, but Chris did make these bizarre jokes about Jimmy being female, making him incredibly uncomfortable.
Oh my god, Jimmy, look, they drew you. Jimmy, they drew you so well. Looks just like him.
Oh, yes.
Oh my God, it's Jimmy.
How did fan art? This is what we were looking for. Be brave, be honest, be kind, Mr. Beast. That is my tagline.
Becoming even weirder when each member started to pay each other compliments.
Hey, nice shirt. Thanks, dude. Nice shirt.
Hey, nice shirt.
Thanks, dude. Nice shirt.
Thanks. Nice shirt.
Nice shoes.
For the most part, the live stream was devoid of awkward moments. However, it would act as fodder for another 100 million views worth of drama and criticism. Chris likely believes that people will slowly adapt to his new appearance over time, but is this really going to happen? Well, maybe. It's difficult to say as the situation is fairly unique, especially when considering Chris's reputation and influence. However, if Chris continues to transition, would it be unreasonable to say that he could jeopardize some of the personality traits which made him a successful member in the first place? Perhaps the opposite will happen, and he'll instead pick up new personality traits that better resonate with the current MrBeast audience. This was put forward in many comments supportive of Chris, who implied that there'll be millions of queer kids who look up to him, although this doesn't necessarily mean that it'll add any value to the videos. MrBeast has likely cultivated a massive LGBT audience, all of whom are already watching anyway, and if we've learned
For sure, most MrBeast fans are gay, right? Me too. That's why I'm a fan.
anything from Hollywood in recent years, it's that adding over-the-top LGBT characters for the sake of relatability rarely works as intended, and is often nothing more than a distraction from
This isn't a movie or a TV show, though. These are actual people.
the premise of the movie or video. On top of this, it can be uncomfortable and unrelatable for the silent majority, although as we have seen, a situation like Chris's does have the potential to create an otherworldly amount of discussion, which could be seen as a benefit for the MrBeast brand.
Drama is good for growth, 100%. That would be an easy way to up my
So
views
you're
if
a
I got it,
Keemstar
bro.
The problem is this type of situation is probably the last thing that MrBeast wants to attract, as he's forced to agree with Chris's position, as he has no way of manipulating the situation without being painted as the bad guy. It's a lose-lose situation for MrBeast. I think Jimmy is in an inescapable situation. If he kicks out Chris, cancelled. If he don't, his channel will die for real. An inescapable situation is a pretty good way of describing the drama, which is also why it deserves the harsh label of being a nightmare. Jimmy has no option but to publicly express acceptance of Chris's transition, as silence or even worse, disapproval would come with obvious severe repercussions. However, in accepting Chris's transition, Jimmy implies that this will be the new normal within the content, thus annoying a different group of people, many of whom will never express their true feelings and may rather simply click on fewer MrBeast videos. If this is the case, Jimmy has no option but to accept this fate, as removing Chris from the videos in any kind of way could create an even more severe media firestorm. The only clean solution, should things go south, might be for Chris to resign himself, and even then rumors and bad press will be unavoidable. Whether it be arrogance or ignorance, Chris seems oblivious to how this whole thing might impact Jimmy, forgetting that he achieved his current level of success by avoiding this exact type of drama.
Well, it happened. Look, man, at the end of the day, I think MrBeast will probably be alright. I mean, you know, most of his videos are targeted towards kids now anyways. I don't really watch his videos anymore. But a lot of people still do, and MrBeast is going to be just fine. He'll be just fine. I mean, the YouTube's going great. He's got his own business. He'll be all right, you know. It's just and naturally the friends will come and go, you know. People go in and out of MrBeast videos all the time. It's honestly to a point now where I wouldn't notice if Chris wasn't in the videos or not. You know, I'm friends with Jake and Chandler from the MrBeast squad, and they haven't been in the videos in a while, and they used to be everybody's favorite, you know. So it's just kind of like, that's how it is, you know. People move in and out of the videos. The formula works every time. The algorithm loves it. YouTube loves it, and a lot of people do love it. I think MrBeast will be all right. And I really do wish Chris the best. I mean, you know, I hope everything works out for him and his kid and his wife and everything, you know, because that's number one priority, right? That's what's more important than any YouTube channel is making sure a kid's raised right and make sure they're okay. So as long as that happens, who cares?
Bye.